Good evening, Hawks fans, and welcome back to the Atlanta Sports District. I'm your host, Russell Spence, coming to you the evening before our first playoff game against the New York Knicks. I'm extremely excited for this contest. I think that we are going to have a wonderful series on our hands. I think that the series that has the best probability of being an upset is the Atlanta Hawks versus the New York Knicks. I think all the other matchups they don't match up super well against the team that is ahead of them. Not to say that the teams that are on the bottom half of these conferences are not good teams, they are, but sometimes you don't match up well and things like that. And so I've looked around, and I think the one that I believe has the best opportunity for an upset is the Atlanta Hawks versus the New York Knicks. It's been pretty well publicized that very few people in the national media, national reporting status, have given us a chance to win this series. And I think that's quite foolish. I think there are a lot of ways for us to make the lives of the New York Knicks very difficult. And I'm going to talk about some of the stuff today, but mostly I want to give a scouting report on how I would coach the team against the players they have that play. And, I'm going to talk about the rotation that they've been playing and a couple of extra players that could crack the rotation according to, what is needed in the series, whether things are going right or wrong for the Knicks. They could change some things. To start off, I would like to talk about the fact that we are probably not going to have Jock Landale for the majority, if not all, of this series. It was announced yesterday that he is going to be reevaluated in approximately 2 weeks. That's a rough blow. We are better if you have the optionality to play Jock. I've said multiple times that he probably wouldn't have broken into my initial playoff roster, but if I went into game one and Mo playing backup center against Mitchell Robinson was not working, and you had the option to go to Jock, I would like to have that option. And now we do not have that option. Now we have Tony Bradley, who I'll be honest, I would not be comfortable putting on the floor if I was coaching and or the general manager or whatever of the Atlanta Hawks. If I was in the higher up structure, that would not be something I think I could stomach because of the way he just looked very poor so far in his tenure with the Hawks. But other than that, we're a completely healthy roster. Going in playing extremely good basketball. I mean, I believe it's 21-5 or whatever in our since the All Star break. Just amazing, amazing output. I'm not counting the last game of the season because we punted it. Only 5 losses since the All Star break in games where we tried. That's pretty remarkable. We're probably the hottest team in basketball right now. Us or those ones out west that are extremely good: San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Denver. But we're right up there in terms of net rating and record. And I think that this team has a chance to do something very, very special. Now, like I said, I would like to give a scouting report on each one of their players, what they excel in and what they don't excel in, and what I would do to thwart their ability to succeed. So, starting off, I'm going to talk about a player who has not been playing in their rotation but could, and that's Jose Alvarado. Jose Alvarado actually, to me, is kind of an X factor in this series where if it is not going well for the Knicks, the energy and the defensive creation he provides is very valuable. And they could swing a series by inserting him in the lineup if things are not going well with Shamet or Clarkson. He shoots the ball very well from three and is very good as a havoc creator on defense. That's one of the things that you realize when you are watching the NBA. Small guards who are able to make positive impacts on defense almost always do it by drawing charges, drawing offensive fouls, and getting steals. That is the only way that they're able to be positive defenders because they are small. And so they get pushed around. And so Alvarado is very small guard, but has positive defensive value in his turnover creation. If I were playing and they were deploying Jose Alvarado, my counter would be Gabe Vincent. To me, Gabe Vincent is Jose Alvarado with less variance. Jose Alvarado is able to create more steal opportunities than Vincent is. But also, Alvarado can't take care of the ball the way Vincent can. And so they're very mirrored in this way where, like, they're similar style players, but one is kind of a big swing kind of player. Like I said, like if it's not going well and you need a big swing to swing the momentum back in your favor, Alvarado can be that player. Well, Gabe Vincent's kind of the exact opposite of that in the same archetype, but he's the steady Eddie. You know exactly what you're going to get from Gabe Vincent no matter what. And it's really quite lovely. And so when I see that, I think, okay, if they go to that option, if they go to let's swing, 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 I would play the steady hands. I would play your Gabe Vincents, your Jalen's, your Nas against that. That would be my kind of thought process in the lineup is let's make a lineup where everyone's steady, where we're not going to turn the ball over a ton and we can create some havoc that way. And I think the best way to do that is with that great veteran leader. You know, maybe the lineup, if they started going to if they went to a um, Alvarado, Miles McBride, OG, Bridges, Mitchell Robinson. I go, okay, well, we're going to counter with Vincent, with Naw, Dyson, Jalen, Onyeka, or Mo. And you go, that unit can rebound, but that unit is very steady. They don't turn the ball over. They will be connected defensively. You will have a hard time swinging the game super hard with a lineup like that on the floor because of the veteran leadership you're getting from your Vincents and your Naws that have been in this kind of situation before. So again, that may be an option they go to try and swing the game in their favor. Be on the lookout for it because it is a really strong momentum switcher when Alvarado comes in the game for their defense and for their havoc creation. So that can be something we watch out for. Next, we're going to talk about Miles McBride. Miles McBride is probably my favorite player off the bench, and he is that same archetype. Small guard, very good defensively, creates havoc, but he is similar to Gabe Vincent in that he is that steady Eddie. There's no knocking him off his spots. He's too strong and he's too skilled. He goes where he wants to, he does what he wants to do, and he is a player that scares me in this matchup because he is better Gabe Vincent. And so to attack that guy, you have to really make sure that you are more physically dominant than a player like that. You have to be bigger, stronger, faster. You have to be able to do more things positively than he can because he is going to do what he does well and do it every single time down the floor. Those players are extremely valuable, and he does a lot of things well. He is a very good passer. He is an above average shooter. He is a very good defender. He is where he is supposed to be all the time on the defensive end, creating steals, using his hands actively, making assumptions and rotations that are perfect that get him in passing lanes and create turnovers. He is a very scary player to deal with and is probably the number one of their players that worries me. Him and maybe two others. I would say it's hard for me to discern which one of the three I think is the most hurtful to our chances. But Miles McBride, if healthy and if playing well, is extremely hard to deal with. Now, how would I deal with him? I would get him in switches against players he has no chance to guard. If we can get him to switch onto Jalen, if we can get him to switch onto Kuminga, onto Onyeka, onto Dyson, these players that are 6'6", 6'7", or taller, very athletic, very skilled, and can just put you under the rim and make it where they cannot play you. You are too small. That is the kind of player that I would like, a kind of attack that I would be deploying against a Miles McBride and a Jose Alvarado. If you look, I would say there's no shot. And you have no like way to mitigate it if you're the Knicks. I mean, you look down like Kevin McCullers Jr. is your next best guy who could come in and have some size to him. I mean, are you going to play Jeremy Sohan? No. That guy just got cut by the Spurs and hasn't played a significant minute for you all year. So if we can force them to get these smaller players that are on their bench, and there's more of them to come, if we can force them to get those guys and switch them onto your Jalen's, your Kumingas, your Zachs, your Onyekas, even your Mo's, I think that your Dysons, I think that's the recipe for attacking these players. And I think that if you do that, you make them unplayable. It's similar to where, like, at times Corey Kispert's unplayable because teams just switch their best offensive player onto him and attack him, and he can't do anything to stop it, so we have to pull him. If he was pivotal to our success in the way that Miles McBride is pivotal to their success, that would become extremely difficult to deal with. But luckily, our guy that they attack very often is not pivotal to our success. So we can remove him from the rotation without completely and totally destroying our game plan. They can't. He is their only option after you take Brunson off the floor. He is one of their only options that can play alongside Brunson off of their bench. So either you play Miles McBride or you are going to be playing Josh Hart or Bridges or Anunoby 48 minutes. So if you can attack Deuce, you are forcing them into an impossible situation. Moving on, we're going to talk about Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet is a one-tool player. The dude can shoot very well, but he is small, he cannot handle, and he struggles in terms of the effort stats, rebounding, boxing out, stopping his man, stopping the ball, getting back in transition. He is a below average player at all of those skills, but he is so above average shooting the ball that he is valuable in a rotation because he spreads the floor so much. So how do you deal with a player like that? Well, for one, you do not give them open looks. You run them off the line. And when I say run them off the line, that does not mean he has got the ball. I am going to sprint at him and jump and try to stop him from shooting the ball. No. For anyone that's watching the podcast and you want to learn about basketball, running someone off the line is very simple. You sprint to their feet. You sprint so that you have your body so close to them on the closeout that your hand is in their line of vision. They cannot shoot it comfortably. But if they try to pump fake and get you to fly by, you do not do that. The only option you're giving them is, I am so close to you that you have to drive. And because I know you are a three-point shooter, I know that's all you want to do. You Duncan Robinsons, you Landry Shamets, you Luke Kennards, these guys who really do not want to attack off the dribble. I am going to make you do that. It's going to be the only option you have. Either you pass it and there is a complete and total stifling of the movement of your offense, or you have to attack off the dribble, which I know you are bad at and I know I can stop. So when talking about Landry Shamet, if you see us sprinting at him and flying by and jumping and doing all this crazy stuff to stop his three-point shot, he is going to pump fake, he's going to take a redirection dribble, and he's going to shoot it and make it because he is fantastic at those things. But if we sprint to his feet and we get a hand in his line of sight, and we force him to become an attacker, a driver, and an on-ball creator, he will be a brutally negative in value for the series. So that is what I would say. Now, defensively, it's the same thing. He's small. Get him on our big athletic guys and attack him and attack him and attack him and attack. Punish them for playing a guy that's that under athletic and that small over and over and over again. Offensively, don't let him make it up by taking away his ability to shoot the ball from three, force him to be a driver, play at his feet. Because as coming from a person who my thing was I can shoot, when I know I'm going to be jumping and landing, and there might be a player underneath me, it is a very unsettling feeling as a shooter. And I can almost guarantee that it drastically, for me at least, it drastically lowers my probability of making that shot. When I know that dude's going to be up underneath me, he's not going to be dirty. I'm not going to land on him like Zaza Pachulia, but he's underneath me where like I feel uncomfortable landing. I will not shoot that ball. I will attack. And so off of that, that's not my best role, and that's not Landry Shamit's best role. I know how it feels to be attacked in that way defensively, and it's not fun. So let's do that to Landry Shamit because he cannot do anything else at a positive value. Moving on, we're going to talk about Jordan Clarkson. So Jordan Clarkson for years has been a six-man off the bench, great scorer. This year he has struggled a little bit with his scoring output. Quite honestly, I think it is because he is losing a little bit of on-ball juice in terms of athleticism. I do not worry about Jordan Clarkson in this series, probably my least threatening player that's going to play, somewhat significant minutes. That being said, he can score. So, how do you stop a guy who can score? Well, it's very simple. You have to communicate. There cannot be a time where he's coming off the screen and we go under and leave him for a wide open three. There cannot be a time where one guy calls a switch, the other guy doesn't hear it, we're not communicating on the back line, guy gets a wide open layup. If you give that kind of stuff to Jordan Clarkson, all of a sudden he feels like he's cooking and he could score 20 points in a quarter. If we just communicate solidly, play solidly, get a hand in his face, take away driving lanes, cut off, when he changes directions, get your body back in front and cut him off. That kind of defense, if we're able to just communicate well and play solid defense, I do not worry about him. But if we are not locked in and playing like a fist defensively, that can be a concern. Now, on the other end, he is very similar to all the guards I've been talking about. He is very small, he is under athletic, and he is very bad defensively. Attack that guy with brute force. We have some of the longest, most athletic players in the NBA. None of Alvarado, McBride, Shamet, or Clarkson should be able to tend that soil, if you would, at all. They should be completely and totally helpless. They are completely and totally helpless physically. A lot of times, basketball is a game of skill, and it truly is. But it kind of reminds me of like boxing. If you are Manny Pacquiao and you're small, like you're just a small man, you can be the technically greatest fighter in the world, which at times he was. His footwork was perfect. He always would block everything you were trying to do. He would evade your punches. He would punch you 1,000,000 times for every one you punched him. But if he fought against like prime Evander Holyfield, nowhere near as good a technical fighter, but prime Evander Holyfield would have walked at him and punched him in the face till he fell. Doesn't matter how many times you hit him, he is bigger, stronger, faster, just more imposing. And so when he goes to hit you, you can't handle it. Well, that is Jalen Johnson. That is Jonathan Kuminga. They are so big and so strong and so physically imposing that even if you are a little bit more skilled, maybe your jump shot's a little better, maybe your handle's a little better, maybe you even understand the game a little better. But when that locomotive is coming down the tracks and you have to get in front of it, you get out of the way because you will die if you stand in front of that train. And so that is the way I would tell my player. If you get one of those, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Naw. I don't care if you're Dyson. I don't care if you're Jalen. I don't care if you're Zach. I don't care if you're Kaminga. I don't care if you're Mo. I don't care if you're Onyeka. I don't care who you are. If you get Jordan Clarkson on you, go to the rim and put him underneath it. Make him taste leather and learn to like it. He is too small to guard the majority of our team. He's too small to guard CJ. He's too small to guard. Literally, the only player who plays in our rotation that he's big enough to guard is Gabe Vincent. And even then, it's kind of a question because Jordan Clarkson's pretty thin, and Gabe Vincent's built like a little spark plug. He would hurt if he hit you. And so I think we have to make it where those 4 bench guards are unplayable. Where it's like they're playing their 5 starters and Mitchell Robinson, and everybody else plays like sub 10 minutes. And the starters are brutally tired. And by game 7, they just collapse. I think that's how you beat this team. And I think it starts with that aggression towards those bench guards early in the series. Beat them to death. Now, moving on to the last guy coming off the bench, Mitchell Robinson. I said Miles McBride's one of the guys, one of the 3. The guy I'm petrified of is Mitchell Robinson. I don't know if we have a player on our team who can box him out. He's so big. He's so strong. He's brutalizing. He wants to fight you. We usually have the guy who wants to fight the most on our team, and his name is Muhammad Gay. And I would put Jock Landale close behind Mo. They are very well matched in just identity, virality. I mean, just overall gumption by Mitchell Robinson. They are some of the only players that I think could deal with him in the NBA. He is one of the more underrated players in the NBA just because he's been hurt so much, and he is so hard to handle, and he is a wonderful communicator on the back line of a defense. He protects the rim like crazy. He clogs things up. He uses his hands well. His footwork is amazing defensively, and he is absolutely ridiculously unstoppable on the offensive boards. To me, that's scary. So how do you deal with a player that's this good? First of all, defensively, and second of all, on the offensive glass. So we'll start defensively. One of the only ways that you can deal with him is by attacking the body. If you go downhill, and then as you are going up for a layup or going up for a short shot, you fall away and you shoot it. You're actually using his length to his advantage. He has an opportunity to extend his body and use his long reach to go and collect the ball. That's what gets it blocked. As you fade away, he fills the space with his length, and he goes and he gets it. In contrast, if you take the space away and you knock him backwards, you inherit the space. You take up the space and you force him off of his spot by going into his chest, hitting him and taking him away from the spot he wants to be in. Now he does not have time to gather his body and extend the length of his body to go and get the ball. He is falling backwards and trying to make an adjustment on the ball, and it never works. It also lends to lots more fouls being drawn. So I would be going at his body every single time I attack the paint. And other than that, pull him out of the paint. Make him play high on pick and rolls. Put him in actions with like CJ, Naw, Vincent, any of these guys that are good off the catch or off the dribble, off of a screen. Zach is a guy. Put him in those actions. Make him come up. If you don't come up, we will make 100 straight threes on you. If you do, we're going to go to the rim because you're no longer there. And we're going to lay it in, and we're going to dunk, and we're going to get back cuts. That is how you attack him. Make him play up And if he is back, go into his body with physicality, knock him off his spot. Now, the way to stop the defensive or offensive rebounding problem, he is such a good offensive rebounder. The way to do that is by rebounding with multiple people. All 5 guys have to be rebounding like crazy, and like 3 of them have to hit Mitchell Robinson every time he comes in there. When I've coached in my life, I call it the paint tax. It's one of my favorite terms. If a player cuts through the lane, they are an offensive player, and my defense is set up, and they cut through the lane, he is going to get elbows, fists, shoulders. He is going to get hit multiple times. You do not get to come in the paint if you do not want to get bruises. We're going to hit you and hit you and hit you and hit you till you give up going in there. It's the same way to box out. Mitchell Robinson, to stay in the paint, must pay a paint tax. That paint tax comes in the forms of elbows, fists, hands, shoulders. Everything you can do to make his life uncomfortable in the paint, you must do team-wide. All 5 guys on the floor. If my guy's not crashing for an offensive board, I'm finding a way to stick my hip against his thigh, and I'm going to hit him hard. I'm finding a way to get an elbow into his ribcage. I'm finding a way to pull on his jersey. Just make life uncomfortable. They can't call every one of them. And Russ, you may say, like, Russell, that's dirty. That's dirty play. Yes, it probably is. But at the end of the day, Mitchell Robinson is going to be just that physical with us on the other end. He is going to grit and grind just as hard. He is going to make life miserable just as much. So if he's going to give it, he needs to be able to take it. If you can't take it, you can't dish it out. So as a team, we need to do what Mitchell Robinson does to other teams. Give him elbows, give him hips, give him shoulders, and as a complete unit, make his life miserable. That's how you stop it. He will stop going in there with as much ferocity if every time he goes in there, he goes, man, oh, I just got a razor blade to the rib cage. He will stop. I guarantee it. Now, moving to the starters, going to talk about, firstly, the guy I'm actually least worried about, Jalen Brunson. Now you're like, that's our best player. How are you not worried about him? He is an on-ball offensive guard. We are the most well set up team in the NBA to guard an on-ball offensive guard. It's not close. Dyson Daniels, dude who leads the NBA in steals, leads the NBA in total team turnovers forced, has the best defensive rating among all guards in the entire league. That guy has the primary matchup. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, one of the best defenders in basketball, has the secondary matchup. You want to switch? Okay. We'll put it all on you. They come off the floor. Zach, Vincent, Kuminga, Mo, these guys that could get switched on him. I don't have a guy in the rotation that I go, I am terrified if he gets switched on to Brunson. I mean, it's not ideal if CJ gets switched on him. But even like Jalen and Onyeka, I'm like, okay. I think that they could do a decent job. And so people, and this, I guarantee you this will age poorly, because what will happen is he'll have a game where he scores a lot. He has a lot of points. I don't care. Points don't matter all that much. The points you score in a game don't matter all that much. And coming from Hawks fans, we can attest to this. There were times where Trey might score 40 and we'd lose because he'd score 40 on non-efficient shots. And you could never win those games if he wasn't being efficient. It made it hard. Now, again, I am very pro Trey. Trey was one of the best players in the history of the Atlanta Hawks. I wish we would have never traded him. But there were games that we lost because he shot us out of the game. I can admit that. And there are games that the Knicks lose because Jalen Brunson shoots them out of it. he is not a very efficient player. And so if he scores 30 something, I don't care if he did it on 29 shots. That is a negative output from Jalen Brunson. He would actually hurt them by being inefficient. The actual best play a team can make is to make the correct play that has the highest probability of this shot going in. And I will let you know a tween behind pull back shot with Dyson Daniels in your mug is not that. Even if you make some of them, you are not going to make enough of them to make up for the fact that you are being inefficient, and you're also pitiful on the defensive end. I know people are like, oh, he's not nearly that bad. They do a pretty good job covering for Brunson. But if you just took his individual defensive metrics, they are very bad. So with that being the case, attack him defensively, attack him defensively, attack him defensively. And then just make him inefficient. If he scores a lot in the series, I don't care. But if he's inefficient in the series, that drastically improves our probability of winning the game. The next guys I'm going to talk about together. And that's Bridges and Anunoby. Both of them are 3-and-D wings. I would say Anunoby more fits into the stopper role than Bridges does. So they kind of use him as their stopper. They will be tasked with stopping Naw and Jalen. I like our matchups in that way, but I also think it's kind of a wash. I think they will do a good job making them not as efficient as they possibly could be. I think that we will do a good job taking away their offensive strengths. I think that overall they're a wash of a player, and probably their net rating for the series is going to be 0. Just dead even. And so those two players I look at and say, if we can find a way to attack them in a way that forces them to be off the floor and give some negative players in their stead, instead of being a net 0, you can have a net negative player on the floor. That's very helpful because, again, I think that certain players that we're going to get to are going to be very net positive players. How would I do that? How would I force their hand to make them play a different player? Well, firstly, you hope they're missing shots. They're not very good shooters, and just get good closeouts. I know they're 3-and-D players, quote unquote, but their jump shots are kind of irregular. They don't happen the same. They're not consistent. And so when I look at that, I say, hopefully they're missing. If they're missing, it drastically lowers their value on the floor. The other thing is they're foul-prone players. You can get them to foul out. And so, or be in foul trouble and force another player to come on the floor. So again, I would look and say, okay, let's be aggressive downhill. I think this team is a team that is very susceptible to being attacked in the paint. And so do it. Attack very, very hard into the paint over and over and over again. And I think that they struggle to stop that. And I think that would cause foul trouble. Hopefully they miss, and that forces their hand to play those negative matchup guards that I was talking about earlier in the podcast. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns. So Cat is an interesting story. We have struggled to stop the pick and pop action that they run a lot this year. And a lot of that has been due to Onyeka not being up to touch as well. When Mo's on the floor, it seems it goes better, but it's still not perfect. So how do you attack that? Well, first of all, there has to be good communication. I think that you probably want to switch it. Let's say it's Dyson on Jalen Brunson and Onyeka on Cat. They go into a pick and pop action where Dyson can't get over the screen in time. I switch it and I say, Onyeka, do your best on Brunson, get a good hand in his face, or try to get the ball out of his hands. And Dyson, take away the pop action. Do not let them throw the ball to Cat if they try to pick it off. And even if Cat does catch it, do what I was talking about earlier, invade that personal space, make him a driver, because his handle is not very good. And with a guy like Dyson Daniels or Naw or something like that on him, you can take the ball away. Primarily, what you would hope is that Dyson just gets over the screen and we just keep it like it is and both guys are glued. That's not going to happen every time. And so we have to communicate those things well, and that communication comes from two places. One is actually in the action, where they're sitting there going, I'm not getting over it. Switch right now, please, go. And you call it. The other can come from the back line, whether that's Jalen, whether that's, Naw, CJ, any of the guys that are not up in the action. You can see, oh, this is not going well. The pick and pop, I can tell he's not getting over it. And you call it from the back line, hey, switch. And they switch it, and you communicate well as a unit. All 5 guys must communicate well. And so that's the best way to attack that, is with communication. So everybody knows, how are we taking away both of these options? How are we making sure that Jalen Brunson doesn't get a wide open driving lane or a wide open 3? And how do we also make sure that Cat is not catching a wide open pick and pop that he is going to make like 60% of the time? If you communicate those things, Cat is not physically imposing. He is not a great athlete. He is not a great ball handler. He is not a great attacker and driver. If we take away the pick and pop action, he becomes a much worse player. And so that's what I would take away offensively. Defensively, he's one of the worst rim protecting big men I've ever seen. And so that's where I look and say, okay, guys, we have a huge advantage attacking the rim. He cannot stop anyone he's horrible at it. There was literally a statistic that came in when he got traded to the Knicks last year that said players literally shot a better percentage at the rim than usual. Like, he literally made them better at the rim because he was so bad defending the rim. People would be shooting like 50% on average at the rim normally, and then Cat would be in the game, they're shooting like 57%. You go, he literally makes people, like, that's how easy it is to score on him at the rim. He's terrible at it. Attack, attack, attack. Use our size to our advantage and attack the rim, brutalize them, and make it where they cannot even stand having that guy on the floor at center. Now, the last of those guys I worry about. Remember, the other one's Deuce McBride, Mitchell Robinson. I worry about Josh Hart. Josh Hart is the kind of player that can be our kryptonite. He plays harder than anyone in the history of the NBA. His offensive rebounding ability is scary, especially when you think about the fact that we are going to have to send multiple men to box out Mitchell Robinson. So if we are sending multiple men to one guy, and then all of a sudden, Josh Hart dives to the rim, and nobody's there to box him out, he will demolish us on the offensive boards. So, how do you stop this? How do you make sure that we can stop his offensive board crashing ability and the hustle stats that he creates for us? Number 1 is KYP. Know your personnel. I'm not going to put Gabe Vincent on Josh Hart for any period of time. I'm going to put a bigger player on Josh Hart. And then secondly, that bigger player, honestly, every player on our roster is going to know, if you are the dude who has Josh Hart, I don't care if you get a single rebound all game. If your man is Josh Hart, I don't care if you record a single board. But if he gets an offensive rebound, I'm going to be mad. I don't care if you push him to Kalamazoo. I don't care if it's like that scene in The Blind Side where Michael Orr pushes the guy out of the stadium on a blocking play. I don't care if that's what you have to do to stop him from getting offensive rebounds. Do it. Then all 4 other guys stop Mitchell Robinson. If we do that, we will win the series. So my prediction is Knicks in 7. But I think we have a chance. A real chance. I would not be surprised if it's like Hawks in 6 or Hawks in 5. I think we have that kind of talent advantage in certain ways. But will we attack those advantages is the question. The other thing I'll say is that this is a good team with lots of playoff experience, and we have none. I mean, we have Naw, we have Vincent, a little bit of CJ. Other than that, our playoff experience on this team is rough. So we don't know how they're going to adapt to a more physical brand of basketball that gets played in the playoffs. I have talked ad nauseum about my dislike for the way the playoffs are called. If a foul is a foul is a foul, and if you don't like the rule book, then change the rule book. But game one should be the same as the last game of the finals in terms of how you call it, because the rules are the rules. But alas, that's not the way it works. That's not what they do. So, in short, how do we win this series? Number one, have Jalen Brunson have an inefficient game 4 times. If you do that, you can win those 4 games. And 4 times in those same 4 games, if you can have inefficient Jalen Brunson and a defensive rebounding percentage over 71%. That's considered just normal baseline, 71%. If you can have those 2 numbers, you can have inefficiency from Jalen Brunson and a defensive rebounding percentage above 71% in 4 games. If you do that for 4 games, you win all 4 of those games, and we win this series, and we move on to hopefully continue to solidify the fact that we here, you got to deal with the Atlanta Hawks. We're a problem. And we ain't going nowhere because our general manager has set up our books where we have no bad contracts for next season. I would like to see us move off the Kispert contract probably, and the Buddy Hield contract, he's going to get waived because it's going to save us so much money. But again, our books are set up so successfully for the future, and we can solidify to the entire NBA. We can put it on a banner. We can scream it from the mountaintops. We here, and you have to deal with us. So as Hawks fans, let's look for these key statistics, this defensive rebounding percentage, and the efficiency of Jalen Brunson. Let's attack the paint. Let's support our team. Let's talk positively in belief of this Atlanta Hawks team, because I believe that we can get it done. With that being said, please like, comment, and subscribe here on the podcast. Let me know your thoughts, comments, and concerns. Hit me up on all the socials. It's at Atlanta Sports District. Let me know if you think I'm completely off base. If you think Hawks in 5, I want to hear it, and I want to hear why. I want an explanation of what you think we could do to win this series. With that being said, I hope that we can have an enjoyable watching experience tomorrow, Saturday, Prime Video at 6 p.m. Be there or be square. But above everything else, I hope you have a great day.